What is up, everybody? It's Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast, and this is the total takedown for UFC 268. We are talking overs and unders. We're trying to stay away from picking sides on this bad boy, trying to give you a different angle, a different opportunity to put some cash in your pocket for the fights on Saturday. Let's kick this bad boy off. Starting our night, we've got CJ Vergara taking on my guy, Ode Osborne. Total here is set at 2.5. Except for some reason, it's not coming up here on my system. Yeah, right off the bat, we're getting screwed here live on the show, except this is pre-recorded, it's not live. So, apologies for that. I've got 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 115. The under 2.5 is minus 145. And I gotta completely agree with the bookmakers here. This has got violence written all over it. CJ Vergara coming off the Dana White's Contender Series, comes forward, plows in, likes to knock his opponents out. He carries that power late, so if you slow down, if you slip up, he's got multiple round 2 and round 3 finishes. This kid is dangerous, and he's durable. He's tough, and this is a big step up in competition for him, though, and he's taking on a guy in Ode Osborne that is really big at 125. He's going to have a reach advantage here in this spot, and he's really good at playing the Matador. Ode's got a sneaky submission game. He's got power in both of his hands. He can catch this kid coming in when he tries to charge him. I think one of these fighters is going to take a nap. I think we're starting off the card right. I like the under 2.5. Minus 145 seems like a fair price tag to bet on violence for the first fight of the evening. Next up, featherweight fight, we got Melsik Bagdasaryan taking on Bruno Souza. Souza is the one who is the guy that looks a whole lot like Lyoto Machida. Very karate, heavy style striking, taking on Melsik, who came off the Dana White's Contender Series and is just a tornado of punches and kicks. This guy is hell on wheels early in the fight. We've seen him slow down if he gets extended, but that has not stopped him from continuing to knock people out cold when he gets in that situation. Another 2.5 total. Over is minus 120. Under is plus 100 even money. And again, I'd be back in violence here. I would absolutely be looking to go under in this spot simply because Melsik basically melts everybody. If you're not up to snuff, he's got some holes in his game. I think we're going to worry about his grappling when he takes that next little step up and takes on a legitimate, well-rounded mixed martial artist. But against a fellow striker, a guy like Souza who takes his time, who leaves his hands down, who likes to play at range and relies on that head movement, yeah, Melsik's going to hit a guy like that. And that's going to force Bruno Souza into a firefight. So Bruno better come correct, otherwise he's going to be sleeping. And if he does come correct, he's also a one-punch KO type of guy. He loads up on big shots one at a time. He's gonna finish if he's gonna win. So I think the under 2.5 at even money in that spot is also the way that I would be looking. Light heavyweight fight up next. Dustin Jacoby taking on John Allan. And this is a bit of a tricky spot if you ask me. Total set at 2.5. The over is plus 110. The under is minus 130. We've got Dustin Jacoby coming in here on short notice. He's a lifetime kickboxer turned mixed martial artist. Flared out in his first UFC run. Went back to the drawing board. Came back. He's undefeated since. He looks solid right now, and his striking is a lot better than most of these UFC fighters because of that kickboxing experience. John Allan, kind of a meat and potatoes type of guy. Not really incredible at anything. Gets stuck on his back in the grappling, but also seems to have some offensive wrestling in his back pocket if he's on top. He kind of knows what he's doing, but he's not really a submission threat. He is a guy that likes to walk forward and trade with you. He's got decent pop in his punches, but he's durable as all hell. And that's where this gets tricky because John Allan is a guy that has never been knocked out before. Dustin Jacoby's looking better than ever. He's coming off of a round 1 win. People are expecting him to just come in here and style on Allan. However, Jacoby's short notice replacement has me kind of curious because if he doesn't get this thing done early, and I mean like round 1, there's a good chance this fight gets extended. There's a good chance the durability of John Allan is enough to keep him in this fight, and I don't expect him to win, but he can at least see the judges' scorecards. We've seen Dustin Jacoby coast. We've seen him get into round 2 and round 3 and have no problem just kind of staying on his bike, sticking and moving. He's not afraid of what his opponent's got coming at him. I would be looking for the value at the over here. I like that plus 110. I'd be tempted to see if this fight can get all the way to the judges' scorecards, and that's the way I'd be looking here. A bit contrarian on that one. Heavyweight fight, Gian Villante taking on Chris Barnett, the dumpster fire of the evening. Total here set at 2.5. The over 2.5 minus 120. The under 2.5 is plus 100 even money. And if you were someone like me and you got in early, they opened this bad boy at 1.5. I got the over 1.5 at -160. That's why you follow me on Twitter. I bet the over 1.5 at -160. It is now all the way up to -200, -225 for the over 1.5. The fact is, neither of these guys has big offensive power. They're both pretty dang durable, and they both can gas out, slow down, and not have the gas tank to finish anybody by the second round. So I think we're going to be a sloppy heavyweight fight here. I think this thing's going over. In fact, I think it hits the judges' scorecards. So the over 2.5 at even money, I don't even hate that. But I'm already locked and loaded and beat a massive line move on that over 1.5. I still think that's a solid spot. If you want to parlay it with something else, the over 1.5 even at -200 still makes sense to me. Welterweight fight up next. Ian Garry being welcomed to the UFC by Jordan Williams. Garry is an undefeated prospect. The UFC is very hyped on. Jordan Williams is a guy that we're not entirely sure even belongs here. Total set at 2.5. It looks like total set at 1.5 on this one. Over 1.5 is +100 even money. The under 1.5 is -120. And I think that's a lot of recency bias. You know, we just saw Jordan Williams get rocked and subbed by Mickey Gall in the first round, and we think a lot of Ian Garry. He's a guy that's coming over, supposed to make a splash, very skilled, very well-rounded, good striking, good submission game. Seems like he could do the exact same thing to Jordan Williams, but Jordan Williams' back is against the wall here. He's a guy that doesn't want to lose his UFC job, so he may play this just a tidbit safer, and if he comes out and isn't quite in your face as much as he usually is, if he picks his spots just a little bit better, I could see this one getting into the second round. I understand why everyone's expecting it to end in round one. I totally get it. I'm not going to be betting this total. There's no way this one makes my card, but the over 1.5 at even money would be maybe a sneaky contrarian spot that I think kind of makes sense. Middleweight fight up next, Edmen Shahbazyan taking on Nasruddin Imavov, and this one has got the internet buzzing. People don't know what to do with this fight. There's a lot of strong opinions on both sides. I really can't wait to see the way this fight plays out. Total here set at 2.5. The over 2.5 is +110. The under 2.5 is -130. So slight chalk. They're expecting this one to finish. And I kind of agree with the violence here in this spot yet again. Edmen Shahbazyan is a guy that can come out and end anybody's night early in the first round with the boxing that he has to offer. Nasruddin Imavov, very slick striker. He showed a well-rounded Muay Thai game the last time out. Both guys capable of wrestling. Both guys slightly questionable gas tanks. Edmen Shahbazyan especially. So the longer this thing goes, the more likely a finish is, in my opinion, because I think one of these guys will crack. I don't know that this is the sloppy type of situation where they're both too tired to do anything. I think whoever fades first probably gets axed here. So I kind of like the under. I kind of like the violence. Nasruddin Imavov can drain the gas tank of Edmen, probably get some kind of ground and pound or a submission on him like we've seen time and time again. Edmen has been working at AKA, so there's a chance his gas tank and his grappling are better, and if that's the case, I don't know if Nasruddin Imavov can survive with him on the feet if he's got a new and improved gas tank and can't be taken down. So I kind of like the violence here. Another one that I'm not sure I'm necessarily going to bet, but as always, you know the deal with this show. I have to make a pick. That's the pick. Middleweight fight, Phil Hawes taking on Chris Curtis. Another very strange and interesting fight in my opinion. Over is set at 2.5. +115 to the over, -135 to the under 2.5 rounds. And again, I'd be looking violent in this spot. You've got Phil Hawes, who's just got that Megatron power. He can end anybody's night in round one. He hits hard when he wants to. Incredibly explosive, solid wrestler, good grappler. That's what we kind of tend to see from him. Chris Curtis, he's a guy that's, again, very meat and potatoes, but he's tough. He's durable. He's got a great gas tank, and he goes to war with every single person that he gets in there and fights with. Phil Hawes is a guy who we have seen slow down. He gets one or two takedowns, and if he meets any kind of resistance whatsoever, that explosive power, that grappling ability, it all goes out the window. He's a Conor McGregor-esque. When he gets tired, he is not the same fighter. And I can see that biting him here in this spot. He's either going to put Chris Curtis away early, similar to the way that Cooper did to him, big overhand right, or if he tries to drag this thing late, that's where Chris Curtis really shines. Curtis is the type of guy that pours it on as you get tired, and he's got some serious hands of his own. So I do think someone's going to get finished here in this fight. The 2.5 is pushing it, because if it gets to round 3, that's going to be all Chris Curtis's opportunity to get that knockout. But I do think it probably happens either late second or early third. I'd be looking at the under 2.5 at -135. That also keeps in mind that if Phil Hawes comes through and rolls through this man, it's probably going to end early anyway. Lightweight fight, Iaquinta taking on Bobby King Green. And what do we really have to talk about this one? Bobby's last 10 fights have all gone to decision. We've got an over 2.5 set at minus 400 to the over. Now, this is a spot where I would love to be contrarian, turn it on its head, say we've got a gigantic number, give me the plus 320 on the under, but I just can't do that because, let's face it, we do not have two fighters contributing to our under cashing. In fact, both of them are negative in that area. Iaquinta, a dude you don't finish. Bobby Green, a dude you don't finish. Only Dustin Poirier has gotten that done. Iaquinta is not a guy that's knocking anybody out. He's a decision machine. He doesn't seem to get takedowns anymore. I honestly think the MMA game has passed him by, but the one thing that he's got is toughness, grit, durability, and heart. So he's going to stay in this fight as long as he possibly can. And Bobby Green is the kind of guy that while he can style on people, while he can outclass people, while he can hurt people, he just doesn't seem to be able to put that final nail in the coffin and put them away. So I think it's Bobby Green. It's Bobby Green by decision. Maybe Al squeezes one out as the hometown guy, but I think this is very easily going over. That price just really sucks. There's not much that you can do with it. Closing out the preliminary portion of our evening, Alex Pereira taking on Andreas Michailidis. Now, Pereira is the guy that we all know knocked out none other than Israel Adesanya. Big kudos to this guy. He has not one but 2 wins over Israel in kickboxing. So now he's coming over to the UFC. And, you know, the idea is they need someone to challenge Israel Adesanya. They're hoping he can work his way up the chain and have that rubber match in MMA instead of in kickboxing. Big payday for everybody involved. But we saw what happens when Clear Shields, a boxer, came over, and that didn't work out so well for the PFL. Here, Andreas Michailidis is going to look to grapple and wrestle and take this guy down if he's smart enough to do it. If he's not smart enough to do it, he's going to go home and get clipped, knocked out early. So we have a total set at 1.5 because of that. Over 1.5 is minus 140. Under 1.5 is plus 120. I think Andreas Michailidis submits Pereira if he can get the grappling going. You know, ground and pound submission. Wrestling is a different kind of gas tank, folks. You get tired grappling. If you can strike for, 25 straight minutes, that's fine. But once you start defending takedowns, it's completely different. So if Andreas Michailidis is going to win this, it's probably early by just getting the dangerous dude out of there. And if Alex Pereira is going to win this fight, it's with that left hand. It's catching Michailidis when he comes in trying to get a takedown, and he sleeps people. I mean, his last opponent was unconscious for like 7 straight minutes after eating that left hand. This man is deadly. So I do think it's going to be a round 1 finish. I can understand wanting to kind of stay away from this one. Generally speaking, I am. But the under 1.5 at plus money, that'd be the only way I could really look at betting it if I wanted to. Main card time for the stacked UFC 268 pay-per-view portion of the evening. Justin Gaethje taking on Michael Chandler. Total here set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is minus 120. The under 1.5 is plus 100. Even money. Practically a pick 'em here in this spot. And honestly, I'm going to be a little contrarian here. Shout out to the boys at Chronic Combat Conversations. We talked about this one on their podcast the other night, and I really like the take that they had on this one. Everyone is expecting this to be a 1-round fight. I mean, since Chandler has gotten to the UFC, he's got a round 1 win that took just a matter of seconds, nearly took the belt in round 1 by being a beast, and then immediately got killed at the beginning of round 2. He's cashed under 1.5 both times he's been here. Now, Justin Gaethje is a guy who has kind of leveled up. He's championship Justin Gaethje. He's the guy that wants to be more technical, pick his opponents apart, get that strap, not just be an entertaining fighter anymore. And Michael Chandler is not a dumb individual. He knows the kind of heat that Justin Gaethje brings to the table, and everybody saw what Khabib was able to do with Justin Gaethje. I think we're going to see more wrestling. I think they're going to turn this thing on its head, and in fact, I think it's going over. I think Justin Gaethje is going to do what he does because, let's face it, he's never really going to change. We have seen Michael Chandler enter into wars of attrition before and go a full 25 minutes, a 5-round fight, over in Bellator before he came over here with a dangerous opponent. So it's not like he's round 1 or bust. He's gone all the way, and not even a 15-minute fight, but a 25-minute fight before. So we can absolutely expect that both these guys are capable of going deep into a fight. I think the over 1.5 is a sweet spot to go against the grain and expect that both these guys can take a little bit of damage and get us to an over. I like that at minus 120. Shane Burgos taking on Billy Q for our next fight here. In this one, I can't wait for this fight. Total set at 2.5. The over is -140. The under is +120. And this is another spot where I'd be looking for violence, folks. Billy Q is a guy that is taking a big step up in competition. Shane Burgos taking a big step down in competition. While Shane is coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, that bad one last time against Barboza where his body essentially shut off on him, Billy Q turned into kind of a round 3 finisher, a guy that likes to cook people over the course of a fight and take them out late when they slow down. The issue with that here is that Shane Burgos does not slow down. So Billy Q is going to run into the brick wall of Shane Burgos here if he's going to go cardio for cardio, violence for violence. And both these guys have 7+ significant strikes per minute landed in each of their fights. So this is just going to be an absolute war. And if that's the case, I don't know that either of them can take it anymore. Like, we've seen Shane Burgos cripple under the amount of punishment he's taken recently. His durability's starting to crack. We've seen Billy Q get hurt, but be able to dig through it and get on, and he's been able to finish his opponents late as well when they slowed down. So, big finishing upside for both guys. Decent getting finished upside for both guys. Now, I know their durability is legendary. I know both guys don't tend to get finished, but the kind of car crash we're looking at here, I do think that someone eventually is going to wilt to the other one's pressure. I would roll the dice on that under 2.5 at +120. Frankie Edgar taking on Marlon Chito Vera. Another interesting spot where we've got kind of a crossroads here. Total set at 2.5. The over is -175. The under is +135. And this is the exception. Every single week, there's at least one where we go, you know what? The side basically equals the total. And if you're looking at backing your guy Marlon Chito Vera, you think he probably knocks out Frankie Edgar. If you're looking to back Frankie Edgar, you think he sticks and moves, mixes in that wrestling, and makes this thing go 15 minutes by just kind of big brothering the larger man here. So if you're looking over, you're backing Frankie. If you're looking under, you're backing Marlon Vera. Frankie is not finishing Marlon Chito Vera at this stage of his career. Sorry, folks, he's just not. Now, Marlon Vera could finish Frankie Edgar, absolutely, but Frankie Edgar's durability, except, recently, has been pretty solid. So I do like the over, I think, more than anything in this spot. I think that Frankie probably gets off to a hot start, and it's going to be up to Marlon Vera to work his way back in the fight or finish late. I'm not touching this one, and especially with the questions surrounding Frankie's chin, there's no way I'm laying -175 on it going over, but I do think that's the way it ends up going. I just don't like the price tag. Next up, women's strawweight fight, co-main event, Rose Namajunas taking on Weili Zhang. And again, I feel like this is a spot where we just flip the script on top of its head. Total set at 4.5, over 4.5, -130, under 4.5 is +110. Everyone saw that knockout last time. Everyone expects this fight to go very similarly, or for Zhang to get her revenge and knock out Rose Namajunas early. But if you look back at Rose's career, every single time she's gotten a first-round finish over an opponent, her rematch ends up going over the total. She every single time goes to decision when she rematches an opponent. It becomes a chess match. It becomes less of a let me get you out of here and more of a stylistic approach, both sides making adjustments and coming back stronger, better, and improved. I expect the same thing here. I think that Weili Zhang is going to give a much better account of herself. She'll mind her P's and Q's. She won't get caught off guard with that sneaky ass kick that Rose hit her with. And I think this one gets over. Now, the only concern for me is Rose slowing down. We have seen her start to slow in the 3rd and 4th rounds. So Zhang has that potential of cranking up the intensity later on in this fight, maybe getting a 4th or a 5th round finish. But if I had to make a peck on strictly the total, I would be looking at that over at the -130 price tag. Welterweight fight, main event time, Kamaru Usman taking on Colby Covington. This one I can't wait for. Everybody's so excited for this fight. It should have happened forever ago. The total set at 4.5, and it looks like you got about a pick 'em here. They're expecting this one to be even money, or you know what, -115, ever so slightly juiced to the over, -105 to the under, so some overlooks coming in here. And I know the last fight, everyone remembers how it went. It was a war. It was a back-and-forth slugfest. These guys wanted to kill each other, but they couldn't quite get it done. Usman finally connects with a big shot and puts Colby down in round 5. It was epic. It was amazing. The crowd goes wild. Yeah, I think this one's going to be a little different. There's some bad blood here. Colby Covington's been in the lab doing nothing but train for a rematch with Kamaru Usman for 2 years, and Usman, we have seen the levels that he has jumped in his last couple of fights. Trevor Whitman essentially just has a controller plugged into Kamaru Usman and is doing ridiculous things with his hands once he's inside the cage. I think the bad blood, the bad intentions, I think these guys pick up right where they left off in that 5th round. I don't think we get out to a slow start. I don't think we grind anymore on this one. I think they're both going to be looking to end the night early and put a stamp on who they really believe should be the champion of this division. I'm actually going to look under. Getting even money or minus 105 on the under 4.5, I think that's a good spot because I just think that both these guys are going to put more into those earlier rounds, looking to either put a stamp on them should it go late or trying to get it done as soon as humanly possible. I think we see violence, and I think we see violence in this one a whole heck of a lot sooner than we saw it last time. I'm looking under in the main event. That's the Total Takedown, folks. Smash the like button for me. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't already. See you tomorrow for the undefeated post-weigh-in show. Let's roll.